I started off as a front bencher, and then as I progressed, I became a backbencher by the fifth year. Not very often. I was I was I yeah I had good success in architecture college. I was well liked by my design tutors, so not that often. Yeah. But I must say that in my fourth year, I had just read Christian Norberg Schultz's book, called Intentions in Architecture. I don't know if you know this book, but it's a really dense. I don't remember any of it today, but I read it and I remember it made such an impression on me that I went for my fourth year design exam, and instead of making a design, I wrote an essay for the exam. Of course, I failed. I failed the exam because I wrote this kind of manifesto about it was so stupid. But I was like, really, like, I'd seen the light, something had, like Christian Norberg Schultz's book had made this incredible impression. And I went for my design exam and I just wrote out this text instead of doing the design. So, yeah, that was a big redo. I failed and my parents were very, very upset. And the first time ever. In fact, I'm actually, my parents are not here in Bangalore, and so for the first 2 years I stayed with an aunt of mine, an aunt and uncle of mine, and they were very relaxed. And then after that, we were lucky enough. My parents bought an apartment in Bangalore, and so it was just me and my brother. Oh man, it was the most incredible whatever 3-4 years in Bangalore. Just the two of us in an apartment, and we had a guy who would cook for us. Uh, it was a magical time. I was free for all. Of course, yes. I had a suite. We didn't have computers, and so glass tracing was an essential skill. I mean, you had to have a glass tracing, some opportunity in the house, because you can't start drafting again. I mean, if you had to redo or make changes on something, you had to be able to trace. So yeah, of course. So I have a fantastic story for that. So I had a classmate. Well, I hope I don't get into trouble, but his name was Vinay. So Vinay, I remember, for rendering Viva. So we had a Viva for rendering. We had a subject on rendering, and so Vinay comes in the morning for the rendering Viva. He steps out of the lift, and he doesn't have a single drawing with him. He's just walking in. He's like, oh my god, I've got nothing. By the end of the whole Viva, he went in and he had a whole stack of drawings. So he'd taken one from everybody. So he went in, and the professor who was checking was so impressed with Vinay's portfolio, because there were all different styles. There was watercolor for watercolor, there was crayon, there's pencil, everything. And then as he came out, a friend of mine, he said he looked at Vinay and he was like so amazed, and he said, when I have a son, I'm going to name him with a V or with an S or something, so that he comes right at the end of the Viva. It was NASA Bhopal, without a doubt. We participated in the GSEN trophy. So my wife and I were on the same team, along with, I think, 7 or 8 others. And GSEN in those days was the trophy to get. It's the most important trophy for the NASA night, at least for a lot of us, because it was the big project, urban design. And we'd really slogged our asses off, on this project. And I mean, it was an amazing, we had an amazing presentation. And the moment the presentation got over and I presented the scheme, we knew we had won, because the jury were so complimentary. And so I think NASA Bhopal was a fantastic highlight for us. I mean, it was just amazing. Yeah. We stayed in this unfinished Sen Kapadia building. I don't know if you know this one in Bhopal. It's kind of this sort of sinewy building which sits on the ridge of this hill. And across the valley, on the other hill across the valley, was Raj's the Institute of Forest Management, which also sits on the ridge. And I remember one day that we were in Sen Kapadia's building and looking across that valley to the other side, and and just blown away by this building and thinking that it was an old ruin. And I remember trekking across to go and see it. So all kinds of really formative memories of that time in Bhopal. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, almost uh, every presentation is scary, including this one. And so I actually wrote down stuff and all that because I was I didn't know what we would how this would go. But anyway, the only way to sort of fight the fear is to be really well prepared. There's nothing that beats that. That in itself gives you confidence to stand up there and sort of make the presentation. I think preparation is 99% of the battle. So if that's that would be my suggestion. That you just really prepare well for presentations, and then it all sort of once you start, then it's okay. I have an answer for that because I recently got asked the same thing somewhere else, and I think the best thing you can do with your time at the risk of losing attendance and pissing off all your teachers is to get out and travel as much as you can, to just get out as often as you can, and to draw if you can, even if maybe you're not very good at drawing, but even then to just try and put into a diary the things that you think about or the things that you see. There's nothing like, and if you're traveling, travel with friends. So take at least one person with you. Don't travel alone, because usually what happens is at the end of the day, after you've made your trip and then you're sitting back, having your beer or whatever, that you will talk about what you've seen, and that people see things very differently, and that's an education in itself, that your friend would have seen something completely in a different way than you, and that's a fantastically enriching thing. So we used to travel a lot as students. I mean, just at the drop of a hat, we'd make a scheme at SLV and just head out, and I think there's so much of benefit to be accrued from that. So travel, and draw. I think you learn a lot more from that than you will in sitting in class, or Of course, it depends on your teachers as well. We had I don't know if you know this famous. There's a person from Australia called Richard Leplastrier, and he's
Okay.
maybe 82. He's a fantastic teacher, and through his eyes, I mean, to be in his company, you see the world through his eyes. You see humanity through his eyes. You see culture through his eyes. To have a teacher like that, I mean, you don't have to go anywhere, because it opens up your mind. It's sort of it's an incredible experience to spend time with someone like that. So maybe that's the other advice: to seek out those who have have seen something of value. And this is why we made that film with Doshi, because it was uh, our excuse to spend more time with someone who seems to have realized something, to have reached a certain level of maturity, which is very unusual. And so seek out those people who you think are of great value, and spend as much time as you can with them, because it makes you a better person, and it'll bring the world to you.